In 1807, after the crushing French victory at Friedland, Napoleon and Tsar Alexander I met on a raft in the middle of the Niemen River. The result was the Treaty of Tilsit. France and Russia, once enemies, were now uneasy allies. But the alliance was fragile, and between 1808 and 1812, it would unravel completely. The first cracks appeared with Napoleon's Continental system, his economic blockade meant to strangle Britain. For France, it was a weapon. For Russia, it was a disaster. Russian trade collapsed. Their ports sat idle, and their economy withered. Soon, Tsar Alexander began bending the rules, quietly reopening commerce with Britain. Another source of tension was Poland. Napoleon had recreated the Duchy of Warsaw, a client state carved out of Polish lands. To Alexander, this was a direct threat. He feared that Napoleon might one day restore a full Polish kingdom at Russia's expense. Diplomatic ties also soured. In 1810, Napoleon married Marie Louise of Austria, tightening bonds with a former enemy instead of Russia. Alexander, who had once considered a dynastic marriage with France, felt sidelined and insulted. By 1811, the alliance was dead in all but name. Russia raised tariffs against French goods, re-established trade with Britain, and began preparing its armies. Napoleon responded by massing the greatest force Europe had ever seen, the Grande Armée, over 500,000 strong. In June 1812, the storm broke. Napoleon's forces crossed the Niemen River and invaded Russia. At first, Alexander refused direct battle. Russian armies retreated deeper into the vast plains, burning crops and villages behind them in a scorched-earth policy that left the French starving in enemy territory. The only major clash came at Borodino in September 1812. It was a brutal, bloody day, tens of thousands dead on each side, but no decisive victor. Napoleon pressed on to Moscow, only to find the city abandoned and set aflame. Now Napoleon faced a nightmare. Winter approached, supplies vanished, and the Russians refused peace. The retreat from Moscow became one of the greatest catastrophes in military history. Frozen corpses, starving soldiers, endless attacks from Cossacks. Of the 600,000 who had marched in, barely 100,000 staggered back. And so the alliance forged on the river at Tilsit ended in the snows of Russia. What began as a forced friendship had turned into a brutal reckoning. From Moscow's burning ruins, the legend of Napoleon's invincibility was shattered, and the road to his downfall had already begun.